Right. I might kick things off as a few people join. Everyone's probably heard the spiel anyways, but we'll get underway. My name is Oliver Maruda. I am filling in the wonderful Emma Cookson's place. She is currently visiting Deanston Distillery today, or I think Holyrood. Yesterday, she's in the middle of somewhere in Scotland, so she's off gallivanting, having a lot of fun, drinking a lot of scotch and doing research and whatnot. So we wish her all the best. We miss her very much, and we'll have her back in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, we have a very, very cool special tasting tonight. It's one we've been working on for quite a while. So I'll let David introduce himself and the brand, but very quick housekeeping. We've got five whiskies tonight. They're all class strength, so don't drink and drive. Add water as needed as well. We run the poll at the end. I record the tasting, so we'll share it on our YouTube. Otherwise, we'd love to hear your tasting notes or any questions. Just throw it into the chat, and we'll get through it throughout the tasting. It's pretty casual tonight, so I think that's it for the housekeeping. I'm incredibly privileged. We love our independent bottlers here at the Whiskey List, and we seem to be picking up more and more. But Chorlton has been sort of on our radar for a while. So when Whisky Alement, who originally brought it into Australia, reached out and said, "Hey, would you like to consider picking up this brand?" We jumped and said, "Hell yes," because they have some incredible whiskies which we'll be trying tonight. So I would like to welcome David Bennett on.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's nice to be back in Australia, virtually speaking.
So
Bear with me if my cat keeps jumping on me.
we love our cats here, dogs. I've got the dog next to me right now. So before we jump into it, let me quickly share the lineup. I just had a complete mind blank. This is normally Emma's job tonight. So sorry, David, for the interruption.
That's quite right. It's 10:30 a.m. here, and I've just had some coffee, so I'm still, still gearing up myself.
And for those who can't see the chat, so I'll just read it out loud. So the Glengarry, 13-year-old, will go first, and we'll second whiskey is the Tullibardine, the 18-year-old. We'll then move into the third whiskey, the Balblair, the Manickmore, and then we'll finish off with a nice peated Lechag. So those are our five whiskies tonight. So if you want everyone to get started, jump on whiskey number one, the Glengarry, and we'll keen to hear about your bottling and this whiskey itself.
Yeah, so the first one, yeah, it's Glengarry 13-year-old. This is kind of an illustration of how smoothly the things work at Chorlton Whisky, really, which is that this was supposed to be a 12-year-old, and things got a bit delayed, so you've got an extra year on it, which is unlucky or lucky, depending on how you see it. Yeah, nice one to start with, though. It's a cask strength, but it's just over 50%, so it's kind of approachable. First full bourbon barrel, and kind of it's that sort of classic Glengarry Highlandsy style of a sort of waxy, mineralic Highland style whiskey with really nice citrusy, zingy freshness to it, and quite a lot of stone fruit as well. I kind of get like nectarines, but other people have suggested apricots and peaches and all sorts, but most people do get kind of a plummy stone fruit thing going on with it. Yeah, really nice one to start with, really zingy, fresh, kind of opens up the palate. And yeah, I hope you all like it. It's kind of interesting with Glengarry that I don't know what people's experiences are, but the style's been really variable of late. And I've got another Glengarry cask from I think the same year, which is peated. So they are actually playing around with, excuse me, with peated distillate a bit these days. So yeah, anyway, very interested to see what you all think. And if anyone has any questions at all, please just excuse me again. If anyone has any questions at all, please just chime in. I'm going to try and not like blather on too much, but if you have questions, I'll be delighted to try and answer them.
So Patrick from Cask and Ashes, he's getting peach chutney on the nose. I'm just nosing it for the first time now. I definitely agree. It's got that creaminess as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a stone fruit thing, which is really interesting in there. I kind of think of this one as being a bit like a really like crisp white wine or something. It's got that sort of fresh, kind of clean zinginess to it, and then you've got that sort of minerality as well, which again you sometimes get with a nice Riesling or something. So yeah, I really like it. I think Glengarry's kind of really variable, but when it's good like this one, and kind of clean and just in a bourbon barrel, you almost feel it kind of the connection with other kind of Highlands distilleries like with like Pulteney or somewhere like that kind of almost coastal mineralic freshness to it. But like I say, I have another one the same year, which is quite dirty and peated. So it's kind of nice that you do have a bit of variety from them.
And apologies before I said 18, it's the second whiskey is a 13-year-old, so I jumped the gun
Yeah.
there a bit by a couple of years. But
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that was another one. So exactly the same story. That was also supposed to be a 12-year-old, got delayed, ended up being a 13-year-old. So I don't try to kind of put out unlucky 13 bottlings, but it's an extra year, isn't it, for you?
yeah, no, that's cool. So tell us a little bit about your sort of bottling ethos. Like, how did you get started? Why are you feeling a natural cast strength? Like, where's the method before behind the madness?
I mean, the method's always been the idea of just trying to present whiskey as naturally as possible. So, if you're lucky enough to go to the distillery and do a tour, and they will draw a dram straight out of a cask for you, what I'm trying to do is put something into the bottle which is as close as possible to that. So, I don't do any dilution, no coloring, very limited filtering, so it just goes through kind of like a mesh, but no chill filtration. So it's a kind of as natural and I mean, the philosophy has always been just don't monkey around with stuff, just leave things be if possible. So yeah, just keep it simple, stick it in the bottle, don't mess around with it. As far as like the history, I think I got started in about 2017 with the first bottlings, but it was very much I didn't know what I was doing at all, and it sort of started in a very small way. I was running a sort of whiskey club at the time, and we just wanted to do a bottling really just for the people who came to the tastings, and that's just how it got started. Really, I sort of did. I think I did a couple of cask ends that I managed to get hold of, and then I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is like a fun world to kind of explore. So I just sort of plunged in without knowing what I was doing at all, and hopefully I've learned a few things over the years, but I'm not totally sure. You can tell me.
So you're South Manchester based, yeah, and a local whiskey club, and what you just pick up the phone to other brokers or distilleries and said, hey, can I just bottle a cask? It's like as simple as that.
I just asked lots of questions. I was asking around, and I just found someone who happened to have a couple of cask ends available, and let me have those. And then I just at that point I kind of got into it properly. But yeah, it's a strange world, and it's when you get started. I guess most people who get into independent bottling probably have some sort of background in whiskey, and they will probably have some contacts. But I was just like, I don't know. So I asked lots of questions, talked to lots of people, and just gradually made a few good contacts. And yeah, I think it's also helpful that I've never tried to kind of I've never tried to be big, so to speak. Like Chorlton Whisky is a one-man operation, and the plans for it to stay pretty much like that. So I can kind of pick and choose casks that I want. I don't need to be buying huge numbers of casks and churning stuff out. Yeah, that's been the story so far, really.
Yeah, awesome. And just for those who aren't familiar, what is the cask end?
It's just when you've got a cask being bottled, but there's a bit left in it. So usually you'll get like, I think the first few I did were like 20 or 30 bottles. So it was just like a sort of the leftovers, the dregs really. But yeah, that's a long time ago now. So I buy proper casks these days.
And you use all of it, yeah.
Sorry?
And you use the full cask yourself now, yeah. No
I
messing
try
around.
to, yeah. I sometimes donate casks to some friends of mine who are beer brewers in Manchester, and they use for like aging stouts and porters and things. And sometimes the casks arrive with them, and they've actually got quite a lot sloshing around in the bottom. And I always feel like I've been shortchanged by the warehouse. It's like I should have had that, and they drink that very happily straight from the cask. So yeah, you do get a bit left over in the cask at the end often.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, question from Patrick here: were you a proper whiskey geek first, or did you see it as a business opportunity? Like,
Pure whiskey geekiness, no business thoughts at all at first. It was purely to try and do something fun for people who came to the tastings I was running at the time. And then it's only later on I was like, oh, actually this is, and it was more to do with it being interesting. Like I was kind of fascinated by how it all works and where casks come from, and the opportunity also just to try lots of things. And that was the main thing for me. So it's always been whiskey nerdiness first, and I think the business is a distant second because I don't know what I'm doing on that front. I just try and muddle through. But yeah,
no, that's very cool. Just reading some of these other tasting notes that are coming through. So, Patrick said, ever so subtle and wonderfully sweet oak on the palate, finish from the first fill bourbon. Yeah, I agree. Michael says, nose is quite fresh. A lot of citrus, definite stone fruits as well, peaches, apricots, etc., and a bit of Granny Smith apples. I get
Yeah,
that tanginess from the apple.
yeah, the green apple. Yeah, definitely.
And Michael's come through with a bright and fruit curious. I like that. Curious citrus fruit and a whisper of plum tart. I like that. That's that
Mhm.
tardiness as well. So, and Ian's come with sharp winter grape on the Glengarry as well. So,
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
Rob,
I think I've got a friend who's a huge like he's a proper wine sommelier, and he tried a bunch of these. And with the Glengarry, his tasting note was yellow plum tart. So it's nice when you kind of get some sort of similarity in the tasting notes. And I noticed in the chat, Rob McKenzie said that a drop of water makes a difference. Yeah, I do try it with a little drop. I think it is actually quite nice with a little bit of water, even though the strength isn't super high. It is worth trying.
I was at a whiskey festival and on Saturday, and someone freaked out when it was like 48% ABV, and I said that's just too high. Get it away from me,
Uh,
scary. And we're in a room here. We're all cast strength fiends, and 50% is low
yeah.
for us.
Yeah, you have to remember that, I suppose, for like a quote unquote normal people, a lot of these cast strengths are really scary. And I go like, oh, it's only 50%, as if that's nothing. And it's like, it's half alcohol. For a lot of people, that is a bit scary. But yeah. Same with pricing as well. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this bottle's only £100 or something. And I'm like, yeah, for normal people, that's nuts to pay that much money for some booze. So yeah, it's nice to try and remember like how weird and rarefied a world we're operating in here.
It's the privilege, and that this is single cask whiskey at cask strength, and you can't complain. This is some very cool stuff. So I might jump into whiskey number two, the 13-year-old Talabardine, which is a refill barrique, 52.2% ABV. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, this is probably the sort of wild card in the lineup. This is a bit of a strange one in a way. So Tullibard in itself is, I think, a very characterful whiskey. Not always had the best reputation back in the day, but I think most people think it's a lot better these days. But it's very characterful, and this one's been had a very strange maturation in a refill barrique. And the barrique previously held a peated whiskey when it was first used. I don't unfortunately know what it was. So there is like a little background of like earthy smoke to this one, which is really nice. It's not super present, but it's just like adding some complexity to it. But yeah, otherwise it's like lots of banana on this one. I get like really one of the most banana forward whiskeys I think I've ever tried. And then some kind of like almost toffee stuff going on. And I almost get like a kind of rum sort of feel to this one. It's sort of like that sort of like funky, banana-y, slightly spiced thing going on. So yeah, really interesting, unusual dram, I think. I think it works really well. And yeah, a little different side to Tullibardine. But it is definitely the odd one out of these tonight. The other ones are all kind of more classic, straightforward bourbon or sherry matured. This is the weird one, but I think weird in a sort of wonderful way. If you like kind of bananas and funky rum flavors, you'll I think really like this one. And again, the strength's quite approachable, 52.2%. It's like, nice drinking strength again.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Ian. For me, banana as a tasting note is instantly, Jack Daniels or Old Forester sort of bourbon that's very common. Like you
Yeah.
open the bottle and it hits you in the face, slaps you in the face with banana. I'm getting a lot more tropical fruit, similar to Ian right now. So it's like an Ardmore and tropical fruit combo. So there we go.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think the Ardmore comparison is interesting because it's that slight bit of peat in there. But I don't know if I tried this one without knowing that it had a peated spirit in the brute before. I don't know if I would have necessarily picked it out. I would have just kind of got like a background of slight tarry earthiness. I don't know if I would have been thinking peat, but like I said, I think it just adds like a bit of kind of interesting texture to the background on it. I don't know what people's
All right.
experiences have been with Tullibardine in the chat. I think a lot of people back in the day, there were a lot of strange ones out there. I don't know whether people have found that it's improved in recent years or they've just been avoiding it or yeah. I think personally it's a distillery that's kind of on the up, but we'll see.
Yeah, we've had it with a couple other IVs where it's been very impressive. So the one there was a whiskey agency, Le Maison, did one. We had one in a tasting early last year. There was a North Star and a couple others. So outside, yeah, that's the only time I personally get exposure to this distillery. It's not something I actively chase or go looking for. So, but as an IB, yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, it often has it's a twin distillery with Jura, and it has a bit of that similarity of that sort of earthiness to it. And sometimes you get with I think Tullibardine, particularly old Tullibardine, the sort of thing I look for in it is almost like a rye bread sort of graininess to it. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one of those ones where I'm kind of glad that they haven't flattened out their distillery profile too much and try to make it too kind of like easy and sweet or anything. It sort of still stays as being a bit of an oddity, which is nice.
Yeah, one of our regulars, Leo, he's a big fan of the distillery. I just remember his tasting that from the last time we tried it was fresh morning dew in a spring meadow, or
Wow.
like the what? Yeah. So he kind of he would love it. I know he got a kid, so he's probably out busy doing other things right now. But yeah, well, keen to hear his thoughts on this one.
That reminds me of the old story they used to have at Ben Nevis where they said they made the whiskey from the dew collected from the mountaintops. So I always like that. But yeah, freshness is a good thing for sure.
Everyone's favorite Japanese Scotch.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, next time we do a tasting, it will be with the 14-year-old Ben Nevis, which will be coming over to you, and I'll tell you about my obsession with Ben Nevis at that point.
We're all huge fans of Ben Nevis here. It's yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people nodding in the room. So just reading through, so the peat or coal flavors jumped out right away. Much more going on with the palate compared to the nose. Nose was a bit flat, muted. Palate kicks in, lovely way. Great dictomy. Gentle peak, not aggressive. Okay, very cool. Very creamy on the tongue. The last tully I had was banana lolly, not amazing, quite drinkable. What else we got here? I think this is the one that older seems good, then about a decade, then it's not being tasteful, but seems to be lifting again. Okay, cool. And Rob's finishing off his kids' lunchboxes, mixed fruit flavors. There we go. That one's seems to be the top voted comment in the chat right now. So well done.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, that sort of that slight funkiness is in there, isn't there? That little bit of yeah, funk, which is nice. But yeah, it's a good one. I think this is one where I'm pretty sure there aren't many other Tullibardens sitting out there in casks that previously held peated whiskey and refill barriques. So it's probably unique in that sense, which is nice. I mean, I'm sure there's like other Glengarries in First World Bourbon, but maybe not so much this one. So it's like a nice, a bit of a wild card in the mix.
And for those who don't know, do you want to give us a quick overview what a refill barrique is?
So a barrique is usually an ex-wine cask. In this case, I don't know much about it, unfortunately. I bought this cask it was one of the very first ones I bought. So in 2017-ish, I think I bought this. So I've been sitting on it for years. And I did try at the time to find out a bit more information about where the barrique had come from and couldn't find anything out. And also what was this peated spirit that was in it before. Again, I couldn't find anything out. And as the years have gone by, obviously it's become less possible to find any information out. But yeah, it's usually a wine cask. So it's I think size wise it's smaller than a butt but bigger than a hogshead. Someone might actually know more than I do about that.
Yeah, cool. And we've just had some feedback. A drop of water really does the tully good, very nice. So if you've got a little bit left, add a drop or two in and see if we can
Yeah, I'd say that for honestly for all of these tonight, do try with a little drop of water and without because it's sometimes it makes all the difference. Other times nothing does nothing at all. But you might suddenly find it hits a sweet spot.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, keen to jump into the next whiskey if there's no more questions or feedback on the Tully. And yeah, before as everyone's pouring the Balblair, tell us about your labels and the inspiration behind sort of the medieval art. I'll put up a photo in a second so everyone can see the labels themselves. But yeah, tell us inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's like this is the thing about being a one-man show is kind of please myself. I kind of have an interest in medieval art and early modern art, and when I got started, it was kind of an obvious thing to sort of use for labels. And I think at the time also doing a unique label for each bottling wasn't actually super common. I think most bottlers were kind of like Signatory or Adelphi or something where labels just look quite text based. So yeah, always wanted to use that. And the current label series actually started in 2020. I had like a different label before that. And the images are all from medieval manuscripts that are to do with like health and well-being. And this was right at the start of COVID, so it seemed really appropriate to kind of like have that at the time. So yeah, it's been 4 or 5 years of this label design, and there will be a new label design at the beginning of next year. But yeah, I think that's kind of interesting and colourful. And if you want to look at them and examine them, you can and sort of see the details. If you just want to drink the whiskey, that's also quite fine because you shouldn't, obviously judge a book or a bottle by its cover. But yeah.
And are these sort of all original artworks, or you kind of using things outside of copyright for it, or?
Yeah, the nice thing about medieval stuff is that everyone involved's been dead for 500 years, so there's no issues with copyright with any of this stuff. I mean, they're all basically just taken from high-res scans that I found from like online archives. They usually tidy up a bit, kind of like play with the colors and kind of clean up any damage on them. But other than that, it's just straight from there.
No, it's very cool. And any hints sort of the new label design that's coming, or is that going to be a surprise?
Yeah, I'm still slightly deciding. I've got a couple of different ones lined up and I'll use both of them eventually. It will hopefully be recognizable as being Chorlton still, but also a bit different. That's the idea. So continuity with change. And I know everyone fears change, but sometimes it has to happen. We've had, like I say, 5 years pretty much of the current label design, so it's time for a little bit of a change.
No, it's good innovation. All right, the Bell Blair Hogshead, 16-year-old.
Yeah, so I absolutely love Bal Blair. I tried a handful from the distillery many years ago, which is still one of the best whiskies I've ever had. I still think about that all the time. That's probably like 10 years ago now. So yeah, not one you find very much of either, particularly at any sort of age. So yes, this is 16 years old, 55.8, so we're a little bit higher on the strength than this one, so we kind of built up a bit. But yeah, lovely. I get like honey and almost like a dessert wine sort of vibe with this one. Super fruity, lime, lots of red fruits going on, a bit of a floral side to it too. And one of the big things with this one, I think for me, is like the texture on the palate's amazing. It's kind of, it feels sort of light, but also dense at the same time. It's got this almost slightly magical feeling on the palate. The wine person that I mentioned tried this, and his tasting note on this was mouthfeel. Said I've written it down. He said it was supple and bouncy, which I thought was great. That's a very wine thing to say, but I agree entirely. So yeah, I think this is really wonderful. Not to like get in front of your own judgment. You should decide what you think yourself, but I do think this is really, really good one.
It's another sort of. I feel like in the last 2, 3 years, Australian IBs, we've just gotten we're over-indexed on, say, Linkwood, for example. Like everyone's bottling a Linkwood right now. It's just a bit crazy, but Bell Blair's just it's quite rare. At least here in Australia, we don't see that many here.
Yeah, this was a privately owned cask as well. So I think getting them through kind of normal channels, so to speak, is quite difficult. But yeah, this one just sort of fell into my lap, and I was really happy it did.
That's cool. Nose is very good from Adam, and Ian says nutty, and we're getting a nice tangy taste, stewed fruit or like a crumble. So I definitely get that tanginess. There we go. People on fire tonight. It's faintly tropical, mid palate as it gets cheeky, maybe cardamom. That's cool.
Cheeky.
The finisher lingers just long enough to suggest that it's making a point, not showy, just deeply competent. Uh, Sorry, keeping up with all these comments coming out. Escorted out by dry white wine acidity. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, it is. Very bouncy. I like that descriptor.
Yeah, me too. I think that was what I was trying to say when I was kind of talking about it being kind of light and dense at the same time. So I think he got it bang on. I think sometimes you need a person with like a wine nose to come in and tell you what you're doing. Um, It's worth saying actually that these first three whiskies are all Highland distilleries, and yet the range between the three of them has been quite a lot, I would say. So it does show you how sort of varied a region the Highlands is.
Oh yeah, it's definitely got its diversity because like Orkney, there's no technically no islands, right? So you got everyone sort of included right from the top to
It depends how you do it. Yeah, I think the
yeah.
islands is sort of its own group these days, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you can certainly see. I mean, I mean, the region thing doesn't make any sense anyway. But yeah, you can see like the continuity between, say, northeastern distilleries like Clynelish or Pulteney and Orkney, right? That all kind of fits into one group, really. Um, but yeah, the regions don't really make any sense.
So tax, I imagine, at some point.
Pardon me, sorry.
The tax man cutting up the country.
Oh, yeah, possibly. I think it was more sort of like Victorian whiskey geeks who were trying to like make sense of whiskey, and they were sort of saying, "Oh, let's try and make it into regions like you have regions with wine or something." And but yeah, I just don't think that. I mean, where you draw the boundary between Speyside and the Highlands is kind of arbitrary, and it's moved in the past, I think. So I don't know. I'm not sure who's making these decisions these days. And obviously, like, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to have Campbelltown as being its own region when it's just like a tiny little place in the same way that the Highlands is a region which is a vast area. So, yeah, I don't know. I think categorizing Scotch is a sort of a fool's errand in a way. Each distillery is its own like weird little thing.
Yeah, and like Glendronach hasn't removed it off its label either. So it's like that, it's
Yeah,
how
and
it was,
which
for
is the
example.
yeah, isn't it? Oh hell, one of the famous Speyside ones still says Highland and Lale, isn't it?
Yeah,
Glenfarclas says Highland, isn't it?
yes. And then everyone just slapped Glenlivet because it was easier to explain where it was
Yeah.
at a period of time. So Glenlivet hyphen then your distillery name or at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So
Well, that's what Cadenhead still do that. So they've stuck with that all these years.
all right, a few more comments coming in. Soon we'll have one of those regions downgraded and be like Pluto. There we go. So it's and then what's Dave saying? I also get the hot berry pie and nice honey sweetness and some white vermouth. This one's very tasty. There you go. You're getting some fans of this one. This is cool.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's definitely one of my favorites that I've done in recent years. Yeah, my wine guy mentioned by his tasting notes, he compared this to Sauvignon and White Hermitage. I don't know if you've got any wine people in tonight, they might know what that means a bit more than I do. I'm a
Yeah,
wine fan, but I don't have that much detailed background on it. But it's nice to know some sommeliers because they can tell you all this stuff.
no, it's very cool. Are you exploring any other sort of like red wine casks and stuff like that, or are you just focus on the classics or
So I have a bit of an aversion to wine casks in general. I think they don't work for me most of the time. Having said that, I did recently, I think last year, bottled a Pielac, which is undisclosed Lecheg, which was in a red wine cask, and that was absolutely amazing. So I'm open to it. I just think for me, like 90% of the time, it doesn't really work that well, and I really don't like when you have like red wine finishes because I think that's what you're trying to cover up with doing that. I mean, in general, I don't do finishes anyway. But yeah, I would never say no to trying a wine cask, but I'm always a bit of a skeptic of them, to be honest. I think I'd kind of, again, it's a kind of keeping it simple thing. Ideally, just leave something alone in some refill wood is the best way to go.
yeah, this might be a controversial sentence, but I think majority of the people in the room here would agree where red wine and Scotch doesn't work. I personally, there's very few cases where it does work, and let's share with they have a full range for the Rugy. I can never pronounce it. The Spanish red wine.
Yeah, Port Rui, isn't it, or something, I think.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
works there, and I think that's the sweet peat combination. Slightly higher ABV, I think cuts through. But yeah, personally, my palate, red wine with Scotch, it just doesn't work most of the time.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm not, I say 90%, I would say it can work. It's just tricky, I think. I think the still, I mean, one of the worst whiskeys I ever tried was a Brackler. I won't say who bottled it, which was like a red wine finish, and it was just absolutely revolting. And it's like, why would you do that? What was wrong with the Bracknell in the first place that you decided to do that? But yeah, I don't know. I'm in general, I'm opposed, not exactly opposed, but I prefer not to do finishes. If a cask's not working out, I'd rather just sell it on rather than try to, salvage it by whacking it into like a PX cask or something like that, which is, what a lot of people do.
Yeah, cool. Might here we go. Ollie the shit story is just like a honey badger. So this is what happens. This is why Emma shouldn't leave me in charge of the tastings anymore because I'll come in with statements that will get me in trouble. But I've said it now. I stand by it. Palates
You haven't
change and
mentioned any
evolve.
names, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Might get everyone to pour whiskey number four, the Manickmore, which is an Oloroso. So we've gone back to the classic style of Scotch here. But before we pour, I have a question for you, David. You're obviously buying the whiskies, you're getting samples, do you have a tasting panel? Or is it just entirely you? Like, are you just getting a few samples from your broker or the distillery, or are you buying it and then maturing it yourself under bond? Like, how deep do you go in terms of the picking and choosing?
Yeah, so I do buy young casks to mature up. I mean, that Tullibardine was one I bought, 6 or 7 years ago now. And if necessary, I'll sell those on if they're not really working out. And then, yeah, more mature stock too. But there's no tasting panel. It is just me. So I think if you have a similar palate to me and similar preferences to me, you'll probably kind of get on with most Chorlton releases. If your tastes are otherwise, maybe go and like I don't know, go and find someone else to buy bottles from. But yeah, it's just I can please myself more or less, and my tastes kind of run. I mean, I like everything pretty much, but I kind of drift always towards more kind of austere Highlandsy profiles and peated profiles. And I tend to be more partial to kind of bourbon casks. So that's where Chorlton kind of leans that direction. I mean, I always try to have some variety, and we've got a nice sherry dram coming up next, so that shows you. But yeah, there is no panel. Sometimes I will, if I'm kind of dodgy on something, I'll give it to some other people to try and get some feedback. But generally, I try to just try things and go for like an initial instinct on yes or no, and then not think about it too much more beyond that, because it's often that's the way to do it, I think, actually, just to kind of go with like your gut on it and not interrogate too much about why or the whys or wherefores.
Yeah, with these samples are similar because we do a bit of bottling ourselves. I agree. Once you try it, you know instantly if it's going to work or not. And if it's 50 or 60% of the way there, you go, okay, what can I do to make it better? If not, does it need more time? Usually, yes is the answer to that. But yeah,
Yeah, I think for me, like I think almost all problems with casks can be solved by more time, and that's the big thing for me. Just leave things alone if possible. But yeah, it's sometimes difficult if you've got something which you're excited about and or is expensive. You want to kind of get it into a bottle before too long. But yeah, often I've just been like, just give it another year.
yeah, cool. And is your bomb store in Scotland, or you got it more local to you, or
Yeah, legally everything has to be in Scotland.
oh yeah, true.
So yeah, Scotch whiskey has to be distilled, matured, and bottled in Scotland. So it can only leave the country once it's been put into glass. So yeah.
Very, very cool. All right, tell us about this the sherry cask.
Okay, yeah, this is a 16-year-old Manickmore, fully matured in a first fill Oloroso, but 54.7%. Yeah, so I do sherry drams occasionally. I do like them. Yeah, I think this one's kind of got like a nice kind of old school sherry feel to it. You've got sort of that leather jacket, um, and kind of black fruits. I kind of get quite a nice like almost black cherry with this one. And there's almost like a slight smokiness as well. I think it's just like it's like that sort of oak char. You almost get like a sort of little bit of a bonfire feel right in the back somewhere. So it feels quite sort of classic sherry in that way. What's nice with this one is Manickmore is like a really kind of zingy, zesty spirit. And if you add some water to this one, you do get that coming out more and more. You almost get this like limey, citrusy thing starts coming out and it gets cleaner. And so it's really worth playing around with water with this one, I would say, just to see where your sort of sweet spot is with it. But yeah, a really good distillery, which I think more and more people are discovering. I've done, I think this is the third Manickmore I've done, but the previous two were just, straight bourbon cask. Um, so yeah, I hope you all like it. It's kind of a fun one, I think.
Got a really good question from Michael come in. So, is there a flavor note or a profile that you're always secretly chasing, even if you never quite find it?
Yeah, I guess maybe that comes back to things that I tried early on and kind of sort of blew me away a bit, really. I mean, my first proper whiskey was Lagavulin 16. That was the very first one there. The proper, I mean, I tried maybe some, rubbishy blends before that point, and that was a mind-blowing experience. I suppose in a way you always kind of chase after those formative experiences, right? And if I could find something which tasted as amazing as Lagavulin 16 did, pretty good. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I kind of always just I do drift back Isla Woods a lot. So maybe that's if someone said to me you can only ever bottle Isla whiskies, in some sort of bizarre punishment scenario, it wouldn't be too bad. I'd be okay with that. Um, so yeah, maybe that's it. It's like trying to go back to that initial the first time that whiskey sort of opened my mind to what it might be. I don't know if that's a good answer or not.
Oh, yeah, you're getting a lot of nods in the room. So, just reading through some of these comments. So, this one's more bourbon to me on the varnish. Big fan of Manicmore here. Looking forward to trying this one. This one reminds me of brandy balls, hard boiled, sweet on the finish, and a nice. I have no idea what that is. Kloofy, cootie dumpling. Oh, need to look that one up.
Oh, Clusie dumpling. We've got a Scotsman in the room, I think.
Uh, Traditional Scottish pudding, like a Christmas pudding, but unique in its own
Yeah.
way. All right, I've learned something new today. I love that. That's very cool.
Well, yeah, Scottish cuisine, you've got to keep on top of it.
No, I do. I have to definitely try that next time I'm there. So this Manicmore is wonderful. Oak coming through thick and strong in such a good way. Really sings after a drop of water with some thumbs up there. So yeah, looks if you haven't had water with it, give it a go without, and then try it with and see how it goes. For me, I'm that zestiness that you described. It is so fresh and punchy. But what's ABV on this one? 54. It drinks like 44. Honestly.
Yeah, it's 16 years. I think that helps. It has been 16 years fully in the sherry butt. If this was a finish, it wouldn't be, I think, quite as kind of easygoing.
Yeah, cool. Michael says cherry cola, sultanas, conspiring of licorice in a good way. Everything is rich, structured, and weirdly poetic. I'm not drinking this. I've entered it.
Okay. Poetic's good.
Yeah, we've reached that phase of the night where the tasting notes are just getting more and more they'll either go super comical or super poetic. So take it as it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is strange sometimes. It's still morning here, so yeah, it's good I have to remind myself that you're all drinking whiskey and it's evening time over there.
Yeah, it's just
Different
after eight
scenario.
o'clock at night here, and after a long week, everyone's ready for a dram or two. So um, yeah, we've had tastings where people jump on and at UK time at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., they get straight into the whiskies as well. And they're like, well, let's stuff it. We're going to jump in with you. So maybe next time you can
Yeah.
join us.
So yeah, if I didn't have things to do this afternoon, I might have done that too, but still.
All right. So if everyone's all good with that, before we jump onto the last whiskey, because I don't feel like I'm rushing to everyone. Obviously, you can pour yourself to lead shade the very last one. Two questions from me. What what's been your favorite distillery that you've bottled so far?
Uh, I definitely can't answer that. So it's impossible. I will say, I mean, in terms of the ones that I've done the most, I mean, this is a good segue actually. Lecheg is something that I have bottled quite a few of, and I think it's almost always fantastic. So that is a good segue. I've also done a whole lot of Kalilas, um, which is like another one which is just consistently great. And I think maybe the third place these days might be Ben Nevis, which I've done a fair few of now, and there are more to come, which is always interesting, always different, frequently amazing. One of the more sort of characterful distilleries in Scotland, I'd say. So um, yeah, I'm trying to think back as well. There was a Glentocher's 31-year-old a bottle years ago, which was absolutely amazing. And I think about that one quite a lot, in a sort of wistful way. Of an evening, I'll sit back and think, oh, remember that one. So maybe that one a little bit too. But yeah, actually Lecheg, Ben Nevis, and then anything from Isla. I think that's you know that's where my heart really lies.
And oh, you mentioned Isla. Is there any Isla drams that have eluded you to date that you definitely want to bottle up?
Yeah, well, a few really, but Bamor is probably the big one. That it is just virtually impossible to get anything from them, or at least anything at a sensible price point. I think that's a distillery which people don't talk about that much. The official bottlings aren't often amazing, but it's such a good distillate, and yeah, I would love to have a really good one of those. I mean, I saw some being offered recently from the distillery, and it was just the price point, and it was insane. As much as I'd love to have one. So yeah, that's one I would definitely like to do at some point, if it ever comes along. I think I haven't done the Lafroig either, actually. So Lafroig would be the other one. But yeah, I've done Ardbeg, I've done Kalila, done Bruichladdich. Got a really good Bruichladdich coming later this year, actually. Done Bunner. I've got some Ardnahoe young casks for the future.
Very
So
cool.
I've done a bunch of Kalilas. I haven't done a Kilhoman. I think anyone's done a Kilhoman because they don't let any casks out. Um, so yeah, Bamor would be the answer, I think.
Yeah, very cool. And then bit of a follow-up question then. Any distillery around the world, is there a distillery that you would love to work with that you've yet to procure?
I love Chichibu. I think everyone does. I also love Schmergen. I think again I think everyone does. So I think those are two that just jump out. I think they're kind of the obvious answers in a way, but they're just every one I've had from them has been sensational. So yeah, those two maybe.
Yeah, the Chichibus are it's on everyone's hit list.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate. There's not an awful lot they produce, and the prices are a bit crazy. But everyone I've had from them has been just wonderful. So
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I think everyone's had time to pour the lucky last whiskey. So tell us, yeah, about this bourbon Lecheg.
yeah, so this is 18-year-old Lecheg, bourbon hogshead, 56.3%. So as I was just saying, I love Lecheg. It's just wonderful, and if you get sort of the distillate from the sort of 21st century, has been incredibly consistently good. Before that point, it's a bit wobbly sometimes. There's some weird good years and bad years, but everything in sort of like the noughties onwards has been sensational from them. Most people bottle it at quite young ages, and that's what I've done in the past. I've done, bottlings around 10 years old. But if you give it a little bit more time, it becomes a little bit different. And yeah, this one, it's salty, it's peated, it's really coastal. You've got shellfish, you've got lemon, and I think this one's also got a little bit of a savory side to it. You kind of get a little bit of kind of almost barbecue sauce or sort of like miso, that sort of savory. I think someone in the comments mentioned smoky bacon crisps, which is definitely always a good tasting note for Lecheg. So yeah, really nice just to try it at a little bit older age. Fantastic distillate. If you like peaty coastal whiskies, I don't think you can go wrong with this one at all. It's a good one to end the night with.
Yet to try it actually. I've just been sitting on the last whiskies with water. It's really improving. Just becoming fresher and fresher. So
Yeah, it doesn't sort of feel old in that sense, does it? It's sort of still like nice and fresh and clean. But yeah, 18 years is probably older than most Lechegs get bottled these days. I think most get bottled at like 10 or 12. And they work really well at that young age too. That kind of like that sort of that young ferocity works well for a peated whiskey often.
Ian's just said scallops and black pudding. I am getting that meatiness. It's quite
Yeah,
tender and bold in a way.
yeah, it's a combination. There is a sort of shellfishy, seafoody side, and then you also have that sort of smokier, kind of like umami sort of savory side to it as well. So yeah.
Another question from Michael here. Do you ever find a class that's technically perfect but emotionally boring? Do you sell it on or do you try to do something with it?
Um I guess it would depend. If I've got a cask that I feel's not really working, like it's not really quite there, or it's sort of good but not really sort of setting my heart afire sort of thing. Usually leave it alone, give it some time. Time is like the great salvation of most casks. If I'm really not happy with it, I'll just sell it. I don't think there's any point in sort of sitting on casks where you think like, I'm never going to bottle this, I'm never going to be happy with it. I actually just sold a really, really nice Altmore cask, which I'd had for years and years. It just wasn't quite working out, and it was bothering me for ages. And at a certain point, I just thought, I'll just sell it. It was again, that was probably technically perfect. And it was really good in lots of ways, but I was just something about it was bothering me, so it's gone. So yeah, that answers that question, doesn't it?
Then funds the next maybe an Isla that you're chasing, maybe a Bowmore. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's buying casks is just a cash hole. So yeah, anything you can get rid of, or sometimes trading as well. You can do some trading with other bottlers sometimes, and there's things that they really want, and that can work out nicely.
yeah, we've that's a common phrase. All the other IBs that we chat to is the amount of trading that happens. We just don't realize. I've got 5 casks of Springbank. Give me an Ardbeg or something, or a Lagavulin and something completely rare, and then people start handshake deals, and they're happy to do it just because they've never had that distillery and vice versa. So
Yeah, that definitely happens. It also helps if you can, if you're doing any distilling, because then you've got like nice spirit to trade as well. So this is like really helpful if you like the Thompson brothers, for instance. They can do some trading of their own casks to get hold of stocks which maybe like mere mortals like I can't get hold of. But yeah, it's one of the weird
yeah,
things about whiskey. Really, it's like a lot of strange stuff goes on behind the scenes, and lots of unofficial dealing going on. But yeah, it's one
that's
of the things that's
cool.
fun about it.
Just going back to some of these other tasting notes. Patrick says, "I'm loving the notes from your shellfish, lemon, bacon. It's all a cornucopia of flavors. Salted, preserved lemons. Very cool. Smoked, meaty, salty, very coastal, wonderful. TWLVT group cask in the future. Hey, this is what we do with not just VTs, but just part of the whiskey list. We find independent bottlers. We do, and one of the first questions I asked David, I think, was can we do our own Australian exclusive some point in the future? Because we just love doing it.
Yeah, I
He's
mean, I can't see
nodding.
any reason why not.
He's nodding. That's the first step. You guys, it's some video you've recorded it.
Oh, no, I thought we'd already talked about this, and I said, yeah, sure, in principle, yeah, we need to find the right thing to do. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. No, I don't have 5 Springbank casks. I don't even have one. I wish.
Yeah, I've got some
Uh,
Campbellton blended malt, which is 1% Springbank. That's the best I can do.
yeah, very cool. All right. Well, I'll share the link. We've sold through some of the range already, in case people want to buy. But I'll also put up the poll now, so if people want to vote for the top 2 drams. It was a very small shipment. It was only 5 whiskies. As David said, he's not a bottler that's pumping out 20 different single casks every single month. The whiskey's ready when it's ready. So we did a tasting of what was available of these 5 whiskies. We'll get the next batch in as soon as possible once they're bottled up, and we'll just keep it going. But yeah, we can't rush with whiskey, so that's why we've got 5 whiskies tonight. And we normally do 6 in our tasting kits. So I've just launched a poll.
I will
So
say, as far
everyone,
as the poll goes, if you've got any left of the Glengarry, go back to the beginning and try it again, because I often find the first whiskey of the night is never really gets a fair shake, because you need to have one or two to get your eye in. So it's always nice to kind of go back to the beginning again and just try it and see how it's changed as your palate's evolved over the night. Not that I'm like canvassing for Glengarry, I'm just saying in general.
it's the sacrificial lamb for our palates.
Yeah, I'd be voting Bell Blair, I think, personally, if I had to choose. But yeah, like I said, I've got a bit of an obsession there.
So as co-host, you and I can see the results. It's invisible to everyone else. So I'll give it,
Okay.
uh,
That's interesting.
yeah, a few more minutes or a few more seconds, I guess, for people to vote. I will share the link as well. So look, honestly, if there's another whiskey tonight that's already sold out that you're absolutely looking for, send me an email, just oliver@thewhiskylist.com.au. I'll reach out to David if he has any in stock. Great. If not, I can sometimes find other places online. But yeah, we will do our best to try and sort it out. Otherwise, as we build the demand for this IB in Australia, we'll order more and more each time, and then that's how we build it up from nothing to something. So we appreciate your support, and obviously reach out if there's I think we've sold out of the Lecheg already. So unfortunately, I know that that's probably a favor of some people, but yeah, David, I don't know if you got any more of that one.
I have literally one bottle sitting here. That's
Yeah.
literally it. So that's gone. I will mention that the next shipment you'll be getting over to Australia will have a really fantastic 18-year-old Kalila in it. So that might be a good substitute if you're looking for something, which I think is also going to have the benefit of being slightly cheaper than LeCheg as well. So yeah, it's quite nice actually that the next shipment will definitely have that and that Ben Nevis 14-year-old I mentioned, which has been really one of the most popular things I've done for a while. So there's stuff to look forward to over there for you.
Absolutely. And there's always more whiskey on the horizon, which
Oh yeah.
you can't get them all. It's like collecting Pokemon, I guess. All right, I think everyone's voted. So I will do the drum roll recording later on, as Emma normally inserts into our videos, and then we'll share the results. So here we go. And it's almost a tie between the Balblair and the Mackmore, followed by the Lecheg. So did you expect those kind of results, David, or is this kind of news to you? Or
I think yeah, a reasonably even split between the Balblair, Manickmore, and Lecheg sounds about right to me. I feel sorry for the Tullibardine. I think that's a really interesting and nice dram, but it's you've got a 13-year-old Tullibardine up against an 18-year-old Lecheg. It's a bit like getting your welterweight in with a heavyweight or something. Yeah, that's good. I think yeah, I'd actually like. I mean, this was, as you said, a bit of a slightly random selection, but actually it's quite a nice little tasting, I think. They've got a bit of something for everyone there. There's like, you've got some peat, some sherry, some fruitiness, some minerality. So I hope everyone found, at least one or two that they really liked.
yeah, awesome. Is there any other final questions for David before we finish up for tonight? Going back for the comments, going back to the Glengarry Super Waxy like a Deanson. Any of the Glengarry left? I need to double check. But yeah, drop me an email if there's any other whiskies apart from the Lecheg, because I think David's going to give up his one bottle. That's all good. But yeah, if any other whiskies that you're seeking, just drop me an email, and then we'll try and sort that out afterwards. Otherwise, just going through some of the other comments I've missed. Difficult deciding. Always, I enjoyed this repeated whiskey, which I'm not always a fan of. The sea is here and wearing the wool jumper from Michael. There you go. But yeah,
Yeah,
Lecheg's not.
I think I put like sheep's wool in my tasting notes originally for that one. It does have that sort of like lanolin sort of like old fisherman's jumper sort of vibe to it, which is quite nice.
I was going to say, so many people think all peated whiskies Isla, like your Lefroy's, your Lagavulin, big punchy iodine, and then they try Lecheg for the first time, and they're just like, wow, it's completely different. And maybe a peated Highland whiskey like a Glendronach or something. That there's so many different variations of peat out there, and Isla is just one tiny part of it. So don't write off peated whiskey because you've had a bad experience of Isla.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I personally like love that sort of medicinal side to some Islay whiskies, but if you don't like it, yeah, just go to other peat sources. The peated high the mainland ones like Ardmore or something, and I mean Orkney as well. You get the Highland Parks that are a bit more peated sometimes, which have that sort of heathery peat to them. So yeah, if you really object to kind of the medicinal iodine thing, just steer clear of Islay, but don't necessarily steer clear of peated whiskies in general. Although I'd say that you might grow to love the medicinal thing. Give it a chance.
yeah, if you're like me, I predominantly just drink Optimal now. I just can't get enough of peat.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
the peatier, the better for me at the moment. That's just my palate in the season. It changes all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always go back to, I mean, Lefroy, Lagavulin, Ardbeg. This is Kalila. It's just I drift back that direction all the time.
Yeah, Michael's followed up with a question. Any Lockendale on the horizon?
No, I don't think anyone's got any of that on the horizon. I don't think everyone knows that was a peated whiskey from Bruichladdich. It was one of their three at the time. So they were making at one point Octomore, Lockendale, and Port Charlotte, and they dropped Lockendale. So they thought it was too similar to Port Charlotte, I think. So I don't think anyone's got any of that left now. I bottled one years ago, which was amazing. But yeah, I do have more Bruichladdich though coming. There's
Yeah,
actually a really good one coming this year, which was a privately owned cask, 22-year-old first world bourbon, absolutely sensational. That's coming if we can ever get it out of the Bruichladdich warehouse because they don't seem to like moving casks. But yeah, that will come along before too long. So there will be more Bruichladdich for sure.
and then you're fighting for the space on the ferries. So
Yeah, I've dealt with Bruichladdich before a few times, and they seem to have their own way of doing things at that warehouse. But yeah, we'll get it out of them before the end of the year, I'm sure.
yeah, very cool. All right, unless there's any other final questions, I can see just that the banter mostly aimed towards me and my palate is now coming out. So I might
Okay.
call a thank you to the evening and the proceedings. It's a virtual round of applause to David and thank you for his time tonight. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll have you back for the next tasting once the next shipment comes in.
Definitely look forward to it. And if anyone has any questions, I'm always available. I'm on the usual sort of social media things and David at chorltonwhisky.co.uk. You can always drop me a line if there's anything you want to ask. Always happy to receive correspondence.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you visit Australia at some point in the future as well. Maybe join us for one of our whiskey festivals if there's an opportunity. If you want to
Yeah,
come down to
I've
Sydney
never
or
been and would
Melbourne,
love to come. So yeah.
yeah, try some Tassie whiskey as well while you're here.
Yeah, you've made it very inconvenient that you happen to be around the other side of the planet. That's just yeah, really annoying of you all. You shouldn't have done that. Just
It's only an 8 hour flight from Singapore or Taiwan. So if you or Japan, if you're
oh yeah,
visiting some of those,
I'm always popping by Singapore, so that's fine.
so it's a little extra. But yeah, it's worth the trip. We love our whiskey here and love hosting people. So if you're ever in town or keen, let us know. But yeah, we'll see you at the next tasting, David. If you want to just stay on for 1 second, I'll quick debrief afterwards. Otherwise, I'll stop the recording and bid everyone a good night. Thank you all.
Yeah, good night, everyone. Thanks so much.